An error occurred. I don't know what that occurred on. Oh, that's just on X. We're live. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 24 of the Drayage Junkies. As you can see, we have a guest with us today, Mr. Andrew. He's been on here before. He was one of the only cool ones for all of you friends of ours that we invited, and you're not here. The Grinch is going to come for you, just like he's going to come for your freight. But as you can see, we're about to be talking about volume this holiday season. We got some good news for you. I don't know why our X isn't going live right now. I think we got some suspicious activity on there, Dirty Dray. But everybody sit back, relax. We got some news set up for you as well. And as always, get ready to kick some cans, crush some cans. This is the Drayage Junkies.
What is happening this Tuesday afternoon, fellas?
What's up, gentlemen? Oh, and we lost Andrew. That didn't take but 2 seconds. What's going on, Dirty Dray?
He's still there.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Oh, not much, man. Not much. I thought today would be a good time to for us to talk about the Grinch, man, and why he's trying to steal Q4 container volume and take volume from carriers. So thought it'd be a good discussion today. But yeah, how you doing in the world of drayage these days, man? Having a little fun?
Dude, don't tell anybody, but your boy is about to be pulling some drayage for PCT Logistics, right? So I can't tell too much. All right, maybe next week I'll give the full scoop, the full insider. But yeah, it's like I've always said, I have always and always will be a drayage junkie at heart. You can never, you can't, you can take the boy out of the container, but you can't take the container out of the boy. All right, that's so wrong sounding, but yeah, dude, I'm excited for it. We're about to be importing some wine from. I think this round's coming from Portugal. Yeah, this one's coming from Portugal, and then later this year, coming late October, early November, got some fine Italian wines being imported, and then a bunch from France coming later this year. Dang, yeah, got a lot of containers coming through. So doing that whole process. But
are they all coming from? Are they all going to Houston or?
Yeah, they're all going to Houston. So the process, so I have a customer in Tennessee. The winery that we usually pull from California, this is the customer that I've told you about before, where they were importing from Europe, running it through the Panama Canal, bringing it to California, and then shipping it all the way back across to Tennessee and New York. So I was like, why don't y'all just run it to like Houston? Or I originally said New Jersey, but like, bring it up through there or down here, bring it to our warehouse in Dallas. You guys take whatever you need out to California, and then we'll take the rest out to Tennessee and New Jersey. So yeah, logistics, man. Glad they listen.
Putting a spin on drayage to help his customers out. That's like a headline.
Yeah, right. Story. Definitely wasn't any ulterior motives in that. It's all for the supply chain. But yeah, what about your side of the world, dude? Everything good?
Yeah, it's going good. It's been a busy week. Like I was talking about, I believe Friday on the lounge. Exports have just been like, normally we're like 65-35 imports. And over these last couple months, man, it's been like 75, maybe 70-30 exports. Like our export business has just been like crazy, which I don't know if that's everybody. It just happens to be my customer base, but hey, I'll take exports all day long. It's good for the country, right?
It is good for the country. It is. But
how's your new studio coming along over there?
I don't even want to talk about it, dude. I got the desk set up, and then I got other desks behind me. So the original plan is not quite coming to fruition, but we work in logistics, so nothing surprises me these days. Honestly, I'm taking on the challenges of multiple screens. But I'm telling everybody out there, I'm about to have the best setup on LinkedIn. Trying to come at me, talking to you, Jeff and Pedro, and even you, Charles Gracie. My studio is about to be it's going to be Hollywood status. So you've been warned.
Less from the Hound.
It's a headache, dude. I wish I would have just kept it simple, but it gives me something to do. Keeps me out of trouble. But
let's go ahead and kick off some news while we're waiting for Andrew to. He was having some technical difficulties, kind of like me last week. So he's trying to get back on. So in the meantime, we'll touch on a little news here. So we have our news brought to us by truckingnewshub.com. And this is in the industry news tab, the U.S. port news, the Drayage tab. And we just want to talk about the new CEO that was just the president and CEO that was just appointed to the South Carolina Port Authority. Micah Malice. I'll go ahead and open up the article here. The article is brought to us by Container News. But you can see there's Micah Malice, and Micah following unanimous vote from the board of directors. Malice, a Charleston native, brings extensive experience in the maritime and logistics. He was previously served as a chief commercial officer at the South Carolina Port, and later as the president of Harbor Logistics, a third-party logistics company specializing in port drayage, warehousing, and transload operations. You can see here that he's humbled by the opportunity to serve as the next president and CEO of South Carolina Ports. South Carolina Ports community provides an unmatched service, and together we will continue to strengthen our competitiveness. That's from Mr. Malice. I believe here that there was actually, so the industry leaders and state officials welcome the opportunity. The interim CEO, Phil Peggett of Hapag-Lloyd, actually was looking forward to Mr. Malice's leadership at the South Carolina ports. So obviously South Carolina ports near and dear to my heart, as that's the majority of our drayage operations comes out of there. And with all the expansions that they're doing with direct rail up to the inland ports, it should be a lot of good business coming through here for many years to come. So we're looking forward to it. So congratulations, Mr. Malice, on your new duties as the CEO of the South Carolina Port Authority. Anything to add on that, Mr. Woodfin?
I think it's a beautiful thing. The Port of Charleston just continues to impress me. So kudos to y'all. Sorry, I'm over here trying to.
No, you're good. So, your news brought to you by truckingnewshub.com. Please go over there and check out Trucking News Hub. We got everything over there from your industry news. We got trucker stories, still trucker picks. So, great one-stop shop for all of your news at truckingnewshub.com. All right. Let's talk about the Grinch.
Let's talk about it, dude. Some crazy stuff going on out here. Just based on what I'm seeing. Originally when we came up with this idea, I was like, oh, yeah, it's coming up to Q4, holiday season. Things are about to get busy. Well, lo and behold, people have been front loading a lot more than we expected, man. July being the peak of the holiday season compared to November. And I think the numbers I got here, I just pulled up. I mean, there's no telling what they actually are, but yeah, the peak of July is like 2.3 million TUs, and they're only expecting 1.71 in November. Which is like, that's ludicrous, dude. That is insane. It says double digits decline from like last year. Or yeah. No, the first half of this year is just absolutely crushed the rest of this year. Which, I mean, I guess the tariffs have something to do with that, but
But is it factual, Freight Hound, or is it just scare tactic?
Oh, I don't know. See, I'm not seeing any exact numbers. This is all saying forecasting, which, like,
yep.
I don't know. me actually look this up.
I mean, July and August, it crossed all ports were busy, right? Record breaking. Since the tariffs actually started, it's been record breaking. But again, it asks you the question, right? Is it scare tactics, or is it truly going to, because some people are saying, some experts, some analysts are stating that Q4 is going to be all the volume's already here, and what's next is going to be kind of Q1 is going to be like July and August, well, just record breaking sales coming in I think in January 1.
Dude, can confirm July. Oh my God, 2.6 million TEUs just in July. That's a 20% raise from June.
Right?
Oh my
Now,
God. Yeah. So, all right, this is insane. So, the 2025 July figures, we were just 555 TUs short of the May 2022 record. So these are, yeah, 20. Like, dude, we're hitting 20% over like pre-pandemic levels. But I mean, think about May. Like, that's another time, or like, yeah, COVID days, dude. Another time when we're seeing a massive amount of front loading, ghost bookings. Like, I mean, but I don't know why people are freaking out now. I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense to, like, the market's kind of down, so you can probably get cheaper shipping rates. But I don't know, dude. What do you think's coming out of this?
well, brings it back to, is it? I mean, yes, July and August was busy, right? Extremely busy. Nobody can dispute that, right? But the volume that comes in typically in September, your volume that's coming in for your holiday seasons are always a few months in advance, right? I mean, those containers were opening up in July and August had scarecrows and pumpkins on it, right? And some of them that we saw in July and August had the Christmas tree and the Christmas tree lights on there, right? Which typically you see those kind of in September and October as they're loading up the Walmart warehouses and the Amazon warehouses and all these other retail outlets, to get them out to the customers to shop. So we did see a little bit of that in that July and August, but we're still seeing that today, right? I got a Walmart distribution center up the street from my house. You drive by that thing's still slam packed with containers, right? Is this driven by a decline, or is it driven by the fact that we're starting to see more, again, not getting political here by any means, but are we starting to see more stuff being produced here in the States? Right? Is there more? Is that stuff coming back to us, which is what possibly could be driving down some of this volume? Because like I was talking about earlier, right? I mean, we're still seeing a huge increase in exports for the industries that we run. We do a lot of recycled metal. We do a lot of other stuff that we do in exports, and that business has been just through the roof, record breaking this year. So, is there a shift in what consumers are buying? Are they buying more stuff that's made here locally, maybe less what we'll call cheap China stuff? I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, we've kind of talked about it. Like, a lot of the customers I've talked to, I mean, just in my sector, dude, they can't afford to import. I mean, I know I've just talked about importing wines here, but a lot of my customers are starting to shop more domestically. I mean, with the tariffs, I mean, I don't even know where we're at now with China. But I mean, if we're talking about holiday stuff, though, dude, like, I think, yeah, almost 90% of our Christmas decorations come from China. and
unfortunately,
lights,
a lot of the Christmas presents, right? Let's be honest, right? A lot of the stuff that Santa puts underneath that tree that gets imported up to the North Pole and put on his sled, right? They tend to, a lot of that stuff comes from China, or at least the parts for the elves to make, right?
But even a lot of clothing, man. Like, I got some. So they're saying, hold on, I had one pulled up here. Can't find it. Oh, yeah. So, let's see. Yeah, so people like, Polo, Ralph Lauren, Levi Strauss, American Eagle, like, they're trying to get ahead of the curve, so they're just stockpiling. Like, that's what we're seeing here. I mean, I guess we're gonna go back to people having real trees in their house and hand built train sets and stuff for Christmas, but but I'm just still thinking, man, like, Is this going to be just another one of those like fear mongering things? You know, fake information getting out where everybody's just preloaded, and then come time, you know, November, it's like nothing. You know, like tariffs aren't that bad again. I just,
You know, and what does that do for, you know, the OTR drivers, right? Because I mean, you know, they move a lot of stuff once it comes in off the containers and it gets delivered to these warehouses, right? There's still a lot of that moves around the country, right? As it moves from some of the mega warehouses and around to the actual retail outlets. So, you know, is it just a container volume shift? Is it a total freight movement that we see a decline in? You know, what do those numbers look like, right? I mean,
yeah,
everybody, you know, drayage drives a lot, but if more volume is coming local and more things are being built and manufactured here in the States, if that's coming back, right, is it a shift?
yeah. But also, I mean, shopping with different countries, man, because I mean, the East Coast is crushing the West right now. Like China's the main one that's getting hit with all these tariffs and I mean, just import taxes in general. Like, so other countries make stuff, dude. You know, I mean, it's. I would like to. I mean, personally, I would love to see more stuff coming back to the U.S. You know, creating more, you know, better jobs, better paying jobs for Americans. I mean, I'd probably help out with inflation, you know, because everybody. I mean, we've talked about it on multiple shows, man. This show, the lounge, like all of the, every time a little bit of cost goes up in shipping, man, who gets freaking hit with the cost? The consumer. So I mean, we're saving thousands of dollars, you know, per container by just bringing it here to the States. Like, I mean, that'd be good for the local drivers too. I mean, not the local drivers, but you know, our OTR drivers, like keeping them busy because you know when you got all these strikes and stuff getting held up at the ports and like, or just like a huge rush, like there's no consistency to that. So I mean, you could have a really good Q1, Q2 as a OTR driver, but you know, when you're expecting your, you know, Q4 to boom for the holidays and like now it's going to be lower than it was this summer, that ain't good.
Trying to see if Andrew was able to come back on because he had a lot of interesting stuff to share.
Yeah, no, dude.
Both from the warehouse side of it with Southeast Trans, but also from the freight forwarding side of it as well with their air group division. You know, seeing it from both of those ends, he had some interesting stuff to share with us. So hopefully we can get his AT&T issue fixed like I had last week, and he can pop back on. So how many containers of wine you got coming in?
So this weekend I just got the one, and then let's see here. Let's see. I got one. Oh, ready for pickup in France. That's funny. Let's see. So at the end of October, I should have two, and then November, I should have two or three more, and it's gonna be consistently. So I'll be pulling like 2-3 containers a month. Which I mean, if it starts, huh?
Are these reefer containers?
I don't know. I haven't seen the word genset pop up. I'd imagine so, but I mean, that's not on me. That's on the customer and their forwarder. But once it's in PCT's hands at our warehouse, then it's refrigerated. But I don't know. I haven't dug into that. It's all kind of got popped on my plate last Thursday. So just doing a little scramble. Yeah.
Hey, the Freight Hound, the Dray. What was your drayage? What we called before?
Dr. Dray.
Dr. Dray. Yeah, about to put those skills back to work.
Yeah, no, I mean it's like riding a bike, you know. was kind of worried about it at first, but now I'm like looking at it and getting excited again. So yeah, no worries on that, dude. It's like I said, it is one of the most powerful drugs on planet Earth, but it's not for everybody. You got to be a special kind of crazy to do it. Or just be willing to do the work. That's what I always tell people. They're like, "Oh, I don't like LTO and I don't like Drayage." It's like, why? Because it's a little more complicated. God forbid you have to do a little more work. Because I mean, dude, when I first started in this, man, like I had that one big customer, and like I didn't really know what I was doing. I just kind of like learned it on the fly. And my customer was like, he'd been doing drayage work out of LA for like 30 years, so he trained me up a lot. But even after that, dude, I'd be freaking on my couch like for 2 years straight, dude, just like watching videos on drayage, like all the complexities, man. YouTube University. I mean, I went to school for it, but you know, there's a lot that goes into it. Oh, here he is.
There he is. He back.
All right. Yeah, let's see if this works now.
Welcome back, sir.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll try it. We'll try it for a minute. I don't know. We're working on cell service here. I still can't get my Wi-Fi to connect. I don't know what's going on.
Damn AT&T.
Yeah.
Me last week, you this week.
Yeah, it's weird. It just won't connect in certain internet search engines. Like it'll work in some and it won't. It's just weird. It's something going on my phone. I don't know. And I don't have my laptop with me today to dial in from that. So
good news is we got IT
challenge.
Brian backstage too. Maybe we need to reach out to him after the call and
have him check out my new iPhone. I mean, it's the brand new iPhone. I don't want to, knock iPhone or anything, but their iPhone 17 is not so hot right now.
Right.
Yeah. So
we were talking. So Andrew, we were talking about just kind of the decline that Q4 is showing, and there was a lot of movement to push stuff forward in July and August. So both what Southeast Trans is seeing from the warehouse side, and even what the Air Group side is seeing from the freight forwarding side. What are you seeing out there? So
it's kind of twofold on my end. From the forwarding side, this is our busiest time of the year, truthfully. A lot of our business is supplying a lot of the suppliers with parts. So they're normally super busy. They're normally super trying to get everything out for the holiday season, trying to get everything produced this time of year. And, we normally do probably anywhere from 100 to 150 movements on average a week. We're only a 4-person outfit here, so we're pretty small. But with that being said, last week we did 10, going into the month of October. The first week of October was 10. So that was, a 90% reduction in our volume. This week has been a little better, but it's that's not normally something that we see this time of year. That's more something we see like the 15th of December. Going into the second week of December, we start getting into a lull period where we go kind of December to middle of January in a slow point. So kind of concerning on that end for us, just from the forwarding side being the bulk of our business, and the warehousing side, I'm starting to get a lot of these trailer reworks, but not so much for destroyed freight. It's more for these guys are trying to double and triple up in their trailers. So I'm getting a lot of trailers to my dock that are double and triple stacked with 2 or 3, 4 orders. And the drivers are going and making deliveries, 50, 60 miles from us or 70 miles from us, and then coming back and reloading and going and delivering, because the final delivery is supposed to be single stacked or one order on a truck, so they're trying to maximize their ability to move this stuff is what I'm seeing a lot from the warehouse side right now, is seeing a lot more of these multiple loads on trucks versus single loads and things like that. On our end, but mainly the forwarding side is the side that I'm a little worried about right now. Just we haven't seen that kind of decline in business, and even during COVID, we were wide open. So for us, it's a little alarming.
So did you see the increase? Were you crazy busy in July and August? Were you seeing those trends where it looked like it was pulled forward into that time frame? Or
I would say so. Generally this year has been busier in the first 2 quarters than any previous year we've had. It's so far been one of our best years to date, up until now. And then it's just been such a drastic. It started falling off kind of towards the middle of September, started slowing down a little bit. We started seeing that decline. And then kind of October, it just fell off. But through the summer, through July, which is really normally our slow time, because that's when a lot of our Georgia Pacifics or our big producers take a lot of their downtime or their mill shutdowns or their things like that to get ready for the busy season.
Right.
This year, there was no downtime. They were wide open all summer long. They didn't do their week outages. They didn't shut the mills down like they normally do. So those are kind of some things that were a little different this year going into the end of the year versus their normal scheduling patterns as far as manufacturing is concerned.
And what kind of feedback are you getting from the customers?
It on their side, it's more. I talked to a couple of my drivers last night. Actually talked to a couple of my customers yesterday about it. And they're kind of getting the same thing. They're slowing down on their end too. So our business kind of works off. We have two sides of the forwarding. We deal with distributors and we deal with manufacturers. And a lot of it is we deal with the distributors that distribute to the manufacturers all of their parts. So it's kind of when one slows down, the other slows down. They kind of hold each other's hand. And then ultimately, both those hands feed us. And when one slows down, the other does. And we ultimately slow down either way. So it's kind of the distributors are seeing a big slowdown from the manufacturers in parts and in needs. They stocked up a lot. And they're not bringing in a lot of stuff. So we did a lot of imports from Europe, UK, into Chicago there going into in the beginning of this year. A lot of it was ocean freight that they normally did. We turned into air freight. So stuff like that was happening all through the first 2 quarters for us that customers were just, I think, in a panic more so than it not knowing the unknown. I think they just panicked and we got super, super busy. And we're doing stuff that we don't normally do.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions for you because you do so much with air freight. If it's a smaller, load where say it's not a full container load, right? Is it more cost effective for the customer to put it on air freight versus trying to do like a less than container load? Or wait for them to actually have enough to fill a container if the volume is actually down? How does that do you see it for the customer standpoint being cheaper?
So it could be, and that's going to have to go into the customer itself, and they're going to have to really be able. That's going to have to be somebody that understands their P&L statement, and what does 30 or 45 days of shipping look like for them as far as that product and cost. Versus having that product here now. So the cost difference, we actually, for reference, that the wall that you actually moved over here for me, that for my customer from China, we've actually air freighted 3 of those since then, and it's about a $4,000 difference in the air freight price versus the ocean price. For less than container load for that particular, which is 9 cases, about 3,200 pounds worth of material. And it's about a $4,000 difference in price from ocean to air, but it's a 3-day transit, 3 to 4 day transit to delivery from the time of pickup to delivery, depending on customs clearance versus 45 to 60 days, depending on container availability. When can they fill it up? When can they get it on the boat? How long does that boat take to get here? How fast can they get it off the boat? How fast does it get processed at the facility? All of those factors factor into, and for that particular customer, his is a profit margin. So he can look at his customer and say, well, I can have this to you in 4 days for this cost, or I can have it to you and you can have what you just spent $40,000 on in 3 months for this cost. And most people spend the extra at this point. But it's definitely not cheaper. What you do is you save time. And a lot of times time saves you money, especially
Right.
in this business.
Yep.
So upfront cost is more, but your back end cost could, at the end of the day, save you some money.
Now, me just being naive to the air freight side of it, what, on the ocean side, there's a lot of unknowns once it gets here, right? That can drive up costs, right? Number one, it can be different customs holds that can be put on it, which then can turn into demurrage charges, and then once you get the container out, there's detention charges and whatnot. What kind of additional kind of costs like that, if any, does air freight have?
So pretty similar. For the most part, you got your customs and processing. So when it comes in, it's going to go to a warehouse, and most of your major airports have a central warehouse there that your international freight comes into. And then from there, it gets stripped out of the containers that are on the planes and processed. So at that point, your clock starts. Normally, you have 2 free days that it sits there at the warehouse at the airport. And that includes your clearing time. So that's not 2 free days from cleared. That's 2 free days from arrival.
Okay.
So once you get that, you typically, if you pick it up right away within those 2 free days, your cost for handling charges and processing with the airline is around average cost $300 to $500 to be able to pick the freight up for handling charges for the airline to handle it, unload it, load it, that process. If you leave it there for 3 days, you're going to be looking in the neighborhood of $1,500 to $2,000.
Okay.
Ask me how I know. I learned that on the last one. But there's
I was going to say that number, that cost
quick.
would be right on the top of your head there. So.
Right on the top of my head. Yes. And that was literally at 24 hours after my free period. They hit you pretty hard on that. The downside to like air freight, international air freight at least, domestic air freight's pretty simple, especially small box stuff. It's like an hour before the flight leaves, drop it at the airport. You can recover it an hour after flight lands, and you're done. Like it's simply easy as that. But with the international freight, the issue you run into most is one, getting it cleared through customs, making sure that all of the documentation prior to it leaving where it left, whether that be China or Korea or wherever, is in order. And everything coming into the country is the way it should be, and that your customs broker that's processing the entry has everything done prior to its arrival. That's the key. If that's not done, your driver's going to be sitting at the international terminal for sometimes days. We've actually had some where it wasn't a broker that we deal with. It was just another customer. And they literally sat at the Atlanta airport for 4 days waiting on freight to be cleared for pickup. So in that case, we ended up having about $2,500 in layover charges for the driver for the 4 days, plus the cost of delivery and the cost of the handling charges. So it can get kind of the same thing. It's just kind of a different beast.
Right.
Yeah. The difference is I guess it's not really different because in drayage, you're relying on other people to do their jobs too. But in air freight, you are mostly relying on a ton of other people to do their jobs. Like with a container, you've got a guy that, and I don't really want to talk about anybody that badly about people that do jobs, but people that work at the ports, they're typically pretty qualified, right? Like at least the guys running the cranes and those guys, they're typically have the qualifications to be doing that job. And they typically know what they're doing. Now, sometimes there's incidents, I get that. But when you're dealing with some of these airlines, you're asking a guy or girl that probably hates their job, maybe makes $15 an hour working out on a flight line, getting paid pennies to do nothing, you're trusting them to move that one box from that plane to that plane in a timely manner and get it to where you got to go. And when you're trusting a bunch of people to do your job for you, it gets real tough with air freight. Like, that's the hardest part of air freight, because it's supposed to be quick and reliable, but it's only reliable if everybody in the chain does their job.
So the same people that are losing your luggage could potentially be the same people that are losing your freight.
Or handling your freight. Yep. Think about that.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of times we do air freight, but there's a lot of times where I'll look at one and I'll have like a 5-pound box that's, it may be a 10-hour drive, and I might can fly it from point A to point B and to get it delivered to the customer in 6 hours if everything goes perfect. But I know for sure I can pick it up and hotshot it in a Sprinter van in 10, and I only have to worry about one guy doing his job right, and I'm paying him real well to do that. So at that point, I'm kind of in control of the situation. I know exactly if he has a flat tire, if he blows an alternator, whatever. I know what's going on. I can get a recovery vehicle in there. I can get whatever in there I need to get. Whereas once it hits the airline, it's in their hands. I can't do anything about it till they want to give it back to me. So a lot of times that's our business, is trying to figure out what's the best option for the customer, not so much the cheapest or quickest, but the best, most efficient that's going to get them the product.
You guys move wine via airlines there, Hunter?
So funny enough, I had a call with the prospect last week. So Delta Airlines got brought up, and my boss, he had the same concerns like you're talking about, their injuries. Like, look, delivering into an airport is not something we're interested in, but in that process, it's we'd be delivering to a third-party warehouse. So I guess whoever does like the food and beverage services for the airlines, I think it's like Gourmet or whatever they call themselves. But yeah, they kind of have these warehouses strategically located close to the airport, so their trucks, just bringing everything over. So yeah, I think, and it's probably for that reason you're talking about, because then it's not us in control of that. It's like,
right,
they got the
and the other thing,
connections, like that plane ain't leaving without their product. And
the other thing there is with air freight is there's a lot of legal restrictions too, that so like dropping freight at an airport, you can't just, not anybody can just drop freight at an airport. So you have to, by law, you have to be TSA certified to drop freight at the airport. So if you're not individually TSA certified or sponsored by a company like Air Group, somebody like us, then you can't legally tender that freight to the airline. Or it has to be, tendered in a special way to be inspected and go through a whole different set of rules than normal freight would if it was dropped by a TSA driver. But like all the people that we use, that's why a lot of times it can be harder to fly stuff. Not so much because they're in a flight or that they're in a good flight. It can be hard to find a qualified driver that has that endorsement that can drop it at the airport. That's another challenge with airport drops. Pickups, it doesn't matter, but drops, they have to be TSA certified. So that's probably, Hunter, why they would have you drop it at the third party warehouse, because their drivers probably all have TSA certifications for airline deliveries.
Yeah, and then even like
that way don't have to worry about it.
Because there are like wine clubs where like people do get like thousands of dollars. Like a bottle of wine can cost like $1,500. So like they're not going to put that on like a private plane or anything like that. That's usually just like moved in our truck as is. But yeah, I just don't know where that would come into play unless it was like, I don't know. My VP did have one story where when he first started, this was like, I don't know, like 20 years ago or some odd, but there was an order that we just left off of one of our trucks, because sometimes like it depends on the account. Like if it's like urgent, we'll leave some stuff behind and it'll be on the truck the next day. Well, a couple of these pallets that we left behind just so happened to be for George W. Bush's daughter's wedding.
That's probably pretty important.
Yeah, it did not turn out very well. Like they had to like expedite it same day. Like it was nuts. But Yeah, I think the stuff we would be dealing with, because it's like canned wine, this one customer. So,
Gotcha.
just one of those, like shit, the little airplane bottles they give you or
Yeah.
whatnot. But yeah, I try to steer clear of that because I mean, I've known some people that have done very well at the airports, but it is like not something I'm trying to dig into by any means. But I do have a question though. What do you mean by like you guys sponsoring them? Is that like getting a like an escort, or is it like you
So
kind
it's
of
through
signing someone
it's
on?
basically through it's through a online system. Like it's called Varut, is the online system that is like the national database of TSA certifications. And so Radiant is a IAC, which is an independent air carrier. We have our independent air carrier identification numbers and all that. So what we can do is we can have drivers that basically they work, quote unquote, work for us, right? They're owner operators, but work for us. And we can sponsor them under our Radiant Global Logistics or Air Group brand, our IAC number, for them to take the test and get a TSA certification. But without like a TWIC card or without, you can't just walk in off the street and take a TSA
Yeah.
test. So you
That's
got to have
interesting, though.
somebody that'll let you come up under their umbrella to at least test and get to the next phase of it. But it's really just it's like a 20 question test, and it's not a lot to it, but there's a lot of details in understanding like what can go on an airplane, what can't go on an airplane, how it has to be done, how you can receive it from the customer. And if you ship freight, it should come from a known shipper. So there's a database online that you can look up pretty much anybody. If you just type in the name and address, and it'll tell you if they're a known or unknown shipper. Which I've got a big issue with that system, but that's we could do a whole nother show on that. But you have to, in order to fly something, you have to prove they're known in that system, which is the independent air carrier system. And if not, then you got to go through a whole nother process where it's got to be dropped off like 6 hours before the flight. So it can be inspected by dogs and x-ray machines, and all this extra paperwork has to be done. It's a process. But it's just, a lot of it is also red tape that the government put in. Most of this stuff is post 9/11 stuff that came in post 9/11, and it's just kind of every year they put one small change in there to make you have to print out a whole another 300-page document and put it in your book and binder and give them a reason to inspect you. Basically, it's just more red tape.
One thing that I noticed too coming in throughout the summer, kind of that July and August as well, and then even now, is customers are loading containers heavier, and I think they're trying to stuff them a little bit more to maybe use less TO. So we got one of our big customers is Granite, and we've had heavier containers come in. I mean, the Granite description is the same; it's the same type material. But we've had some heavier ones come in to the point where we actually had to shift. So typically this one that comes into Savannah will get put on a rail and then get brought to Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
Or the customer in Nashville. We typically don't touch it, but they've been heavier than normal, and they couldn't put them on the rails. So then we've had to go down and pick them up from there and bring it up to Charleston to have them unloaded here, and then they have to strip it and bring it over there. So I think some of it too is they might be putting an extra slab or two on there in this particular case to try to see if they can minimize,
save some money.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are looking at ways right now to try to cut some costs wherever they can. I think that's the biggest thing across the board. I don't know. I think it may be a two-sided problem, like we were talking about. I think it was front loaded in July with a panic of what was going to happen. But I also think now people are also trying to figure out other methods, right? Everything's kind of, the pockets are starting to get hit with these increases that have slowly been increasing and on the rise, and people are just kind of like, well, I got to figure something out. And I think we're starting to see that there are solutions to it. Like I said, there's trucks coming 2 or 3 loads on a truck and needing to be separated to delivered, that type stuff, where they can maximize 3 or 4 customers on one truck and they maximize their profit load from it, but aren't having to make 3 or 4 trips. I think probably with containers doing the same thing.
Yeah. Yep.
So
everybody's trying to save money, but yet sometimes in the back end it ends up costing them more money.
It can. Yeah, it definitely can. I know with a lot of these double stack trucks we've been getting, big signs on the pallets say do not double stack, yet they come to me double stacked. And a lot of them are turned over because they shouldn't be, the pallets weren't built for double stacking.
Right.
So then I have to add to the bill for a rework, that's another $100 added to the bill to rework that pallet for them to just get it back on the truck. And it's also about 45 minutes of time that driver's got to sit here too, that I would have been done. So that's a lot of the stuff they're dealing with that. So you're right. I don't know if it actually is saving them money at the end of the day or not. Because I can't see their books to know.
Yeah. No, I wonder that the same, especially with that one particular customer, because, once they get there, they got to put them on trucks and deliver them. Now they got to take it all the way to Nashville via their truck versus it being in a container. So there's so many moves that happen, and it's the same thing with you, right? I mean, we've brought stuff to you with the transloading warehouse to where, then that one customer that we brought the 8 containers in, and then it wound up turning into 9 dry vans that moved around. It's like, is it that much cheaper than just bringing it directly to the customer,
Yep.
But
and then we haven't heard any more from that guy.
I actually did. Yeah, I did. They moved it back. They moved it back to the original. I just heard from him last week.
Oh, did you?
They moved it back to the original. I think they shifted it over on this side with some vessels that was happening because of the tariffs and what was happening with on the West Coast. But yeah, they ended up flipping it back to the original port of discharge versus shifting it over to the UK.
Good deal.
Not really. Bad deal.
Well, that is a bad deal for me too.
Bad deal for us. Good
glad
deal
we know now. Glad I'm not expecting them anymore.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, that is kind of a bad deal because I was looking forward to handling the rest of this.
So Rob says, I'd say merchants preloaded seasonal and adapt just in case versus just in time model to hedge against tariff issues. But that's just Rob talking. Good opinion.
Dude, I'm with that though. That's what I was saying earlier, man. Like,
yeah,
I think a lot of these people are doing it just in case. We saw it happen earlier this year where everybody was like, "What's up,
Your
Vanessa?"
sister says hello, Hunter.
I know. Go get a job, Vanessa, in freight specifically. But no, dude, it's. We saw it earlier this year. Everybody's like, "Oh, this is going to be worse than it was during COVID time." So what happened? Bunch of preloading, bunch of front loading, and then what happened? The 90-day pause. So it's like. I get why some of these bigger companies are doing it, but if I'm like a small, medium-sized mom and pop, I'm not going to rush that because I haven't booked any ocean freight, but I guarantee you these steamship lines are taking advantage of it.
Yeah.
During COVID, dude, one of my customers, they were a 4PL out of Australia, but they had a location in Houston and Canada, but they were telling me that they had this contract with one of the customers I was pulling drayage for, and they were like, dude, these bookings used to be $5,000, going from like China or wherever to Houston. And now they're upwards of $25,000. And it's like,
and they've shortened up all their, they've shortened up their free.
Oh, that's when the ghost bookings started happening heavy times too, man. You almost couldn't fucking find containers for export. So it's like,
yeah.
That's
the, and it's, I think it's just it's a panic thing. I think I don't want to put the label on all Americans, but Americans, we panic.
That's what I was. Yeah, dude, I'm on the same thought process because it's like
we
people
panic.
are like, they're thinking of COVID and they're like, oh, we can't do that. It can't happen again. Like, I'm not going to be caught behind the curve on this. But yeah, like we can't, like we freak out, dude. I mean, dude, I bet there's people that still have stockpiles of toilet paper from COVID.
That's what I was gonna say. I was just about to go there. It's like, and especially being in Charleston, we deal with hurricanes and stuff like that, and it's like they'll predict a hurricane 8 days, 5 days, 7 days out. And you'll go to the store, there won't be toilet paper, water, anything on the shelves. And next thing you know, that storm's hitting Europe. It's like it wasn't even coming here.
Yeah, same thing here in Tennessee, man. They're like, oh, big snowstorm, milk, eggs, and bread gone.
Yep, gone.
I still don't understand that, dude. It's like, I'm gonna get some canned goods, man. It's really gonna be that bad, dude. That bread's gonna go bad. I guess you can.
Those milk and eggs are gone, man. Like,
yeah, but what do you mean? Are you just baking goods the entire time?
I don't. But that's the thing, and it's always been, as long as I've been alive, it's been like that. There's been something coming up. Everybody just kind of panics to the store. They panic here, and I think we're just a country that panics when they hear things.
Also, too, we're such a spoiled country that we're just used to having anything at our fingertips, especially nowadays, man. Like, I just ordered 2 things on Amazon. They're going to be here at 4:00 today, so that's like such in our mind where it's like we can't go without for any period of time,
No, I agree. There's it's kind of a need it now, want it now, I'm going to get it right now kind of mindset in this. Yeah. And I completely agree. Yeah.
We all need a little slap of reality, but yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see how this all plays out, though, because that's just been the whole narrative of this year is, oh, the tariffs. Watch out for those tariffs. They're coming for you. And it's just never.
And that's why I was hoping to get some conversation about this today. And Andrew, definitely appreciate you coming on and giving us some insight from your side of it, because depending on what side of it the table you're on, you may see it, you may not, right? And it's all I hear about is the down in volume, and maybe it'll come for me next week, right? Maybe next week I'll be on and be like, yeah, I jinxed myself because now all of a sudden our volume is down. But we've been fortunate with the customer base that we have, and like I was talking earlier, our imports and exports have shifted, but we haven't seen it. We haven't seen it all year when they've been yelling and screaming about it all year. And I know some customers have, and I know some companies have, depending on what your customer base is. So it was good to see, your perspective, both from the warehouse side of it and the air freight side of it, to see, for you to say you've been down, quite significantly based on this time last year. Is there truth to it? Question number one, or is it just the scare tactics and the bluff of this going on and people just panicking and throwing this stuff out there, and then as soon as they realize, oh, it's not that big of a deal, do they pick back up maybe in November, right? Is it an October, September, October slowdown, but now it'll pick back up in November? Or does it truly, this year kind of now be a wash, and January, January 1, 2026 becomes insane like we've seen in the past?
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping it picks back up because, I didn't mind it slowing down a little bit, because I'll be honest, 150 a week with 4 people it's busy for us, especially with the warehouse. That's a stretch. Not that I've ever turned down business. I'm not complaining, but I don't mind a little slowdown here or there. But going 90, cutting 80-90% of the volume in a week is crazy. And like I said, we're not really off to a crazy start this week. I think we're at 4 or 5 so far for the week, and we'd normally be at 20 or 30 at this point of the week,
right?
Or more. So it definitely be interesting to see kind of how it progresses for the rest of the fourth quarter on through December, and what we can do on that end, see what happens, and then kind of like you said, how the beginning of the year starts, because normally for us the beginning of the year is always historically slow. Normally January into the first week or 2 of February is historically, if I want to take a vacation, that's when I need to do it. Like, that is my downtime.
Yep.
But maybe with the change this year, it won't be. Like you say, maybe it'll be wide open January 1st. I don't know.
What feedback are you getting from your carriers that show up at your dock? right? What is their perspective on? Like we hear and see and read a lot on some of the forums here, the Charleston Port Forum, maybe the Savannah Port Forum, but some of the drayage forums, right? We'll hear and everybody's always talking about, it's always slow even when it's busy, right? So it's hard to grasp, what the truth is and where and what's really out there. But what are you hearing, from the driver's perspectives there? Because we haven't seen typically when on the carrier side, when you or on the drayage side, when you see it, typically rates will just be like stupid cut, right? And even on from my side on the brokerage side, like when I'm putting some stuff out there to quotes, the rates are still there and where they normally are, right? So it tells me from at least the carriers that I work with on that side of it, they're not seeing a big enough hit to be able to start chopping their rates. What are you hearing kind of conversations from the drivers?
No, and I would say the same on our end. I haven't seen any big as far as the drivers I've talked to that have come to the dock, they're all pretty busy. They're all staying pretty busy, staying on the road, staying moving. But as far as rates we're seeing on the actual forwarding side, they haven't really changed. They haven't gone up or down any. So I don't know that they're, but then again, it's hard for me to like my rates on that side of the business are very, they're not really in the market as far as your normal lane rates would be, just because everything is in a expedited or hot shot mode. It's all rush, same day type freight. So there's no really, I don't have very really any like normal your standard lanes where it's just a constant Houston to LA or Charleston to Nashville or on a constant basis where I could have something to truly compare. Like last week it was, $2.50 a mile, and this week it's down to $2 a mile or up to $3 a mile. Ours is such a spot rate type system methodology that we see a huge increase in rates on DOT Blitz Week. That's when we get hit with huge rate increases where drivers don't want to run. It kills us. That is like our biggest time of seeing a rate increase. But other than that, our rates are pretty consistent across the board. It's more territorial, like out of South Georgia, Carolinas, that area, like Sprinter vans are in the $2 a mile range, but you get them coming out of Florida, you can get one for $1, man. Like, cause everybody just wants out of Florida. Like there's no small freight out of Florida. So it's very territorial, like as far as rates are concerned in the specialized and hot shop market.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So it's real hard for me to know to gauge what the real market's doing price wise, because ours is so niche into territories. That makes
Ain't
sense.
nothing to bang your head against the wall about, man.
Yeah.
If you're going good in your area, that's how I am, dude. And people don't like it, like you said, that things are going good. It's not the case for everybody, but I mean,
Right.
See, but even with the DOT Blitz Week, man, like I've seen a lot of conversation about that. I mean, it is the biggest crock of bullshit ever. You know how many states like have that year round and nobody even knows because they don't announce
and nobody has any idea. And it's like we'll get an email from our top few like brokers or carriers that we use. And we'll be like, oh, it's Blitz Week. And then next thing you know, it's like we'll send one over and it's like the rate that we got last week that was like $600 for this is now $1,200. And I'm like, what? Well, I'm having trouble finding coverage for it. Okay.
Sounds
so it's double the price?
Sounds like you see us in shady carriers then. If they have to shut down for Blitz Week.
Yeah. So, well, that was the other thing. That's where a lot of them, and with hot shots, it's tough. We deal with a couple people that we've really formed great relationships with, but it's, freight forwarding, I guess it's kind of like double brokering, but it's not in the sense like, you feel that way sometimes, right? Because you don't, that's not what you're doing, but in the sense of it, you kind of feel that way sometimes when you're having to deal through with a dispatcher or someone else and their driver, right? So that's kind of like the struggle that we have as freight forwarders, is there's always another middleman in the process. You know, none of us are really direct brokers. So none of us, we do have our own drivers and we have our own carriers that work directly for us that we don't, broker anything through, but we also, go through brokers and have to trust that their vetting process is 100% true and correct, and that they're doing everything on the up and up too, which
Right.
we found sometimes has not been the case, which at the end of the day all falls on us because we're the responsible party at the end of the day in this situation. Like, that's when it all boils down to it. I know we've had a couple podcasts on the double brokering and the responsible party and all that, but at the end of the day, when this situation arises, it comes back on us, and we guarantee all the work that we do. So that's why we're very specific on who and what we use. But in the expedited hotshot world, it's very very uncommon to find a driver named Bill. I'll say that. Or Bob.
Yeah.
Those names don't pop up very often. We see a lot of Alexanders and Igors and
In the hotshot space?
oh yeah,
Dude, that's crazy, man. I haven't ran
dude,
hotshot
Ukrainian,
in a long time,
Russian.
but that's so
Huge.
disappointing, man. That's why I used to,
Huge.
dude. I used to love, like, hotshot was my favorite freight run because I'd be dealing with like Bills and Bobs and
Yeah,
Joshes,
no.
you know what I'm saying?
Very, very few anymore. Like, because we have a few customers that will do like work on government facilities, military bases and stuff. And for those specific deliveries, you have to have certain requirements to, access the base. And so we'll ask for these specific requirements, a TWIC card or a real ID and all these things. And it's like, that can sometimes be the hardest thing to find in the hotshot world right now, is somebody with a TWIC card or real ID and all of the qualifications to actually access a government U.S. citizen. Like, those things are really hard to find in the hotshot world right now. If you find one of those, that's a unicorn right now in the hotshot world.
Well, a lot of the hotshot drivers I know, man, they like run so direct now. Like, one of my buddies, he does like motorcycles for Harley Davidson and shit like that, or like, it's like very blue collar, like freaking, being friends with someone that's a project manager, so they just run that for him. But man, that's crazy though, dude. Because I guess we got to touch on that at some point on the lounge, because that is not good news right there. Because I mean, shoot, I got set up with the SDCC. Which, I mean, that's government contracts and shit. And that was one of the biggest things, is like they have to be a U.S. citizen.
Yep.
Like, background checks, yada, yada. And it was already hard enough to like, I mean, I never won anything because after Biden, made the call to where it's like, there's no negotiation. We're going to take the cheapest option that's out there. And I mean, dude, I would cut it down to where I would almost be losing money, putting like $8 margin.
And still not winning it.
Still not winning it.
Still not
like,
winning it.
I don't know
Yeah.
who in the hell is running this, but then you see these cats out there, they're like, yeah, I make killings on this stuff. So I don't know. So I mean, shit, dude, feel bad for you in that case, because I mean those certifications were already hard enough to find with U.S. drivers. I mean,
yeah, and it's tough. That's honestly the toughest part, and communication with the driver directly is super hard. Like, especially when they get to some of these deliveries, we find that's probably our biggest challenge is communication. A driver goes to pick up, because everything we do, like I said, is rush. So it happened really quick. An email was sent about it. They boxed that part up and they got it ready at the front gate or at the parts counter or wherever. And it's a will call pickup. I mean, they're going in and quick pickup and out the door kind of thing. But most of them can't speak English enough to go in and say, I'm here for air group pickup. Like, and so it becomes a challenge. So that's a lot of but very, very Ukrainian and Russian in the hotshot world right now.
I had a good one come across Monday. First name, Easter. Didn't have a last name, but it started with a B. It just said Easter B.
Easter bee. I like it.
Freight with the Easter bunny.
I like it. Yeah, we've had some interesting names. Very interesting names.
Well, everybody uses, first of all, a lot of them, you know, 2 first names. You see a lot of those, and then you start to see a lot of the celebrities, right?
That was my favorite back during COVID, man.
In the freight movement business.
Yeah.
Booking freight with John Cena.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, you remember last week I was telling y'all about, you were here, Andrew, but on the lounge, man, I think they're getting crafty with it. So there's this one broker we booked a load with, and I didn't really think too much about it. And then I kind of looked into it because they were just like very, I don't know, not like your normal broker you'd work with. And come to find out they're out of Chicago land. And some of their type in it, you know, just wasn't fluent, you know, like you and I would send emails. And this dude's name was Henry Hill. And I was thinking, okay, what's nickname for Henry? Hank.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of when you said that.
Season just came out, so I'm like, dude, I'm doing business with Hank Hill, man.
That's awesome. Yeah, the Chicagoland seems to have some of those brokers. We had a customer up in that area that we did a lot of business for, and they were all Japanese. Every one of them that worked in the building. They were all Japanese, and their names were, I can't pronounce any of them, to be honest with you. Their actual real names. But you'd get emails from them and like Bob, Steve, Mike. They all had American first names. Like they all gave themselves American first names so they could, you know, make it easy to communicate because there was no way you were pronouncing their actual real name. But you'd call up the plant and like, can I speak to Bob? And then this guy come on the phone and his English was so broken that you'd understand like, Bob? Yeah, that's me. That was hilarious, man.
But I spelled it backwards.
Yeah. Oh, it's hilarious. But yeah,
that's what tripped me out when I first started brokering. I mean, you know, we'd be booking freight, and then it's like, get this dude on the phone. He was clearly not from here, and he's like, "Hello, buddy. My name is Sonny." I'm like, "No, it's not. Yeah. What's your real name?" He'd be like, "Buddy, you cannot pronounce it." I'm like, "Shoot."
Okay, we'll go with Sonny.
Can't pronounce it.
We'll go with Sonny.
We'll go with Sonny. We're gonna call you Sonny. Yeah, that's the biggest thing I struggle with is language barrier a lot with these drivers and dispatchers, and there's not a ton of pure English speaking people out there. And if they are, they're like you say, they're on direct freight. You know, they've already got they're not getting spot freight. You know, they're not the ones hitting the load boards and looking for stuff, and they've already got their week booked and squared away. They're set. So that's the you're
blame the load boards for that, man. I mean, so you got some of the big names out here, and I ain't talking shit about them because I mean, shit, I've used them since the beginning of my freaking tenure here in freight. But now it's like, if you're on the load boards, man, good luck, and you're doing something wrong, man. Because there's enough tools out there now. Like, you know, you can find the good carriers out there, but I think that's where a lot of those fly by night, you know, like anybody that says that this is their job, yeah, you belong on the load boards. This is not a job, man. Freight is, fortunately or unfortunately, a lifestyle choice.
It is. It's a lifestyle choice. You have to eat, breathe, and sleep this if you want to really do it. That is 100% true. You have to live it. If you want to be good at it.
There's definitely no off switch. I mean,
no.
People probably laugh at you and me at the baseball fields as we're running around on the phones, and everybody else is just sitting there chilling, enjoying, and you and I are running around talking. You know, yeah, definitely a lifestyle choice.
Yep, but it's you know, it's been good to me, and I don't know that I'd want to do anything else, to be honest with you at this point. I enjoy it. It's fun. There's some days that are like work. I can't lie. Like, you know, when I was having to pick up those metal pieces and re-palletize them yesterday on that truck, all 475 of them that fell off that pallet one by one. It felt like a little like work, you know, I'm not going to lie. But then, you know, you do something cool and you move this crazy like sports ball across the ocean, or, you know, and then deliver it to the all-star game and stuff like that. And you're like, okay, this is why I do this stuff. You know, it's cool. Like, or you get the customer their part they needed because they were about to lose $1 million on a job, and you save them $1 million. Like, that's the stuff that I'm in the business for. So that's why it's a lifestyle, because you're willing to take that call at midnight.
Yep.
Anything to not be an accountant. That's what I've always said.
Yes.
Speaking of accountant, and speaking of money, Hunter.
Oh, well, you were already on the roll, brother. We're talking about Shoreline Capital,
There we go.
the family business of factoring that gets it done right and fast for you. Not having to go through the corporate bullshit like we've been talking about, having a nice family style business on the other line there to help you out, get your business on track with low interest rates, help you get out of binds like they helped you get out of a bind there, Dirty Dray, if I do recall. It is a fantastic company to get your factoring and capital from. Go to ShorelineCapital.com. Talk to Mr. Clint Weston, the owner. I think he had 20, 30 years in the banking business and just saw an opportunity to help people out, because we all know if you're running a smaller operation, it is hard to keep up with the books. So have a good team in your corner, because it is a sure thing with Shoreline. Tell them that the Junkies sent you, and you can use code SureThing365. Get your first invoice up $2,000 for free today.
Well said. Well said. Keep that money in your account. Get that money quicker. Don't hold it up in your receivables. Because you might have days where the freight slows down a little bit. You might have a month, but keep that money in your pocket versus sitting out there in somebody else's bank account waiting for that 30 or 45-day net to pay. But we have definitely had a good show today. We have gone way over our hour. Andrew, we appreciate you coming on. What is next?
Yeah, guys.
Andrew Sloan and Southeast Trans and Air Group. What's next for you guys?
Southeast is going to keep plugging along here. We're open for business, handling all your transloading, lumping, cross-docking, storage needs here in Somerville, Charleston Market, Savannah area, anywhere, within 150-mile radius, bring them. We'll handle it. But coming up to Q4, we're going to try to keep growing, keep doing more of that stuff. That seems to be what the market needs around here right now. That kind of has been what has been growing throughout the year, and what we've seen the need be the most. And then we've got some cool stuff coming up with Aspen Medical, the medical project we've been dealing with for the last year or so. We're kind of venturing out in some areas, some new areas, Kuala Lumpur, and doing some more stuff down in Haiti, and some domestic stuff going on here in Florida and some other places with them. So some cool projects coming up for them over the next few months that we're going to be getting into here. So some good things going on, some growth going on, and excited to see what happens here the rest of this year, and interested to see what 2026 brings.
Absolutely. And for any of the Drayage carriers that may be tuning in or come back and watch the show afterwards, if you're in the Charleston market, or he said even Savannah market, and you need a transloading warehouse, you need to either get this thing reworked for your customer, or your customer just needs to take it off and maybe store it, or transload it onto a different transportation vehicle for the final mile, I highly encourage you to reach out to Andrew and his team at Southeast Trends. And where can they get you? Where can they find you?
They can find us at www.setransexpress.com, or shoot us an email at operations@setrans.com, or give us a call, 843-871-4288. We're here 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, but we work 24 hours. So like we were talking about earlier, the phone is never off. So if you guys need anything or need us for anything, I'm here 24/7. So let us know.
Awesome. Hunter, Freight Hound, what you got?
I got a mouse that is acting up on me right now. My pages won't stop scrolling south. But yeah, stay tuned. Andrew, thanks for hopping on, dude. It is a pleasure as always. I think we definitely covered some good grounds today. But yeah, I don't know what our conversation is going to be on next week. That is yet to be determined, but I think it'll be good as always. So that's all I got. Stay tuned. Got some crazy shit going on in the world of PCT. About to be pulling my first container out of the Port of Houston. So, yeah,
I'm ready for stories on that one.
Right?
Yeah, me too, man. ready to be telling them rather than dealing with it. But nah, that's a part of it, man. Always moving forward. So, what you got going on there, Dirty Dray?
Well, I'm just waiting for to see what happens here in Q4 and making sure that the volume stays the way it's been. And please, if you're looking for trucking news, like we talked about at the beginning of the show with with the new CEO here for the Charles Report and all your other industry leading trucking news, please stop on over and check out truckingnewshub.com. A lot of cool stuff going on over there. And if you have any ideas of what you want to see on there, hit us up as well. And we definitely got some stuff we've been adding here over time with trucker stories and trucker picks. So yeah, check out truckingnewshub.com and appreciate the discussion today. The Grinch is not going to steal our Q4. We're going to make sure that not this year. It ain't going to steal our Q4.
Nope. Not this year.
Yes, sir. So appreciate you guys. Appreciate the conversation.
Yeah. You guys have a good week.
You too.
Yep.
Appreciate y'all tuning in. If you're just now tuning in, be sure to go back, watch the show, hit us up, stay junky. We'll see you next time.